A few months ago I created some videos that looked at how fast my bikes were. I know, it's a silly question. Really what I wanted to know is how important was bike technology in terms of how fast I could ride. So I ended up comparing the speed of my heavyweight touring bike to my lightweight carbon fiber bike. According to internet wisdom, there should have been a big difference in the speed. However, what I found under the carefully controlled test conditions was that the race bike was just 0.6 of a kilometre an hour, or about 2% faster than the touring bike at 30 kilometres an hour. Although I could rationalise this difference being quite small, after all I am the largest part of the bike and rider combination, so making improvements to the bike is only likely to improve that bike-rider combination by a relatively small amount. However, it didn't correlate well with much of the speed hype that you get on YouTube, where a new pair of aero wheels, for instance, will boost your speed by a super amount. Although I was quite rigorous about my testing, there was one area that could be open to criticism. That is, I based the physiological input on heart rate and not power. I did this because at the time I didn't have a power meter. However, I now have a power meter, which gives me the opportunity to compare my heart rate to power output. So here I look at whether controlling my heart rate was equivalent to controlling power input. I repeated some of the ride experiments that are described in this test protocol. There's a link to the protocol in the description. However, this time I had the power meter and hence power data. I rode to a target average heart rate and cadence over a fixed course. These rides were carried out over several days. Each of the days had very similar weather conditions. I also aimed to have constant levels of fitness and fatigue. All of the data, including the average power data, was included in a spreadsheet that allowed me to analyze and graph the results. I'll visually present the results as bar charts. However, the main results are numerical statistics. Here you can see the results for each of the 8 individual tests that I carried out. The controlled variable was heart rate, and I was aiming for 135 BPM. As you can see here, I almost achieved it, with a confidence interval of much less than 1 BPM. The dependent variable, power, averaged out at nearly 200 watts, with a confidence interval of about 2 watts. In this graph I present the same results but as percentages. I've also zoomed the y-axis to accentuate the differences. As you might expect, the averages for both readings are 100%. If they weren't, I could have been in big statistical trouble. The confidence interval on the power is just under 1%. This is the same level of variation or accuracy that my power meter claims. So I conclude here that if I use heart rate as the controlling variable, it can substitute for power. There are some caveats, however. First of all, the rider condition, that is me, was carefully monitored and controlled during the testing. I used only one moderate heart rate, although both of these points were the same as I carried out in my previous testing. So these results and conclusion should be applicable to my past test results and some future test results that I'll be publishing.